Breaking news coming out of the NBA. This one is a surprise and a shock. Myles Turner agreeing to a 4-year, $107 million deal to join the Milwaukee Bucks, that according to ESPN. That ends the run of what was a long career for Turner. All 10 of his NBA seasons were played with the Pacers, played the 6 most games in Pacers history with them, and just had a deep run all the way to the NBA Finals in Indiana. But now he heads to different pastures in Milwaukee as things are getting crazy out here in free agency period of the NBA. Nicole here with us. And Ashley, before we even dive fully into this Myles Turner news, now the reports are that the Bucks are waiving Damian Lillard, who's of course rehabbing that Achilles injury that he tore just this past season. A lot of money owed to him. They'll have to figure out that money situation. So first, which way do you want to take this? Are you more shocked with the Myles Turner news or the Dame time?
I think all of it, and I want to get this right because we're breaking this down as it's happening. And they are waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million of his contract in order to acquire Myles Turner. So obviously Lillard's last 2 seasons with Milwaukee, it comes to the end as he rehabilitates that torn Achilles tendon. But this is actually really crazy because we anticipated maybe the movement coming from Giannis because the Bucks were not going to make any moves and didn't have the capital to make moves. Myles Turner kind of came out of left field because I was under the impression, most of us were under the impression, he was absolutely going to re-sign with the Indiana Pacers, especially after losing Tyrese Halliburton. It is almost just dire to have a player of Myles Turner's caliber. When you talk about what he did, he's coming off of a stellar season, averaging almost 16 points on 48, 40, and 77 splits, 6.5 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1.5 assists in about 30 minutes of play. And not only that, the biggest thing is the Pacers' opponents shot 57.7% at the basket with Myles Turner defending this season. So a phenomenal defender can also give you that offensive punch. And to lose a player like that and also be without Tyrese Halliburton, you kind of wonder who they're going to go after at that position. There's only a few guys that are remaining. You have DeAndre Ayton, who the Lakers desperately need. We talked about Al Horford earlier today, your Gator boy, on Morning Buzz. It's starting to get very thin at an already thin position of the center. And if you're the Lakers, now you're scrambling because Myles Turner completely threw this entire situation in disarray, because you would have to think the Indiana Pacers are now looking at DeAndre Ayton. It is going to be a battle, I feel like, for him between the Pacers and the Lakers, unless, which I don't think the Pacers are doing, unless they think this is going to be a wash season because they won't have Tyrese Halliburton. Because I will say, the interesting piece of information was this. When the report came out that Myles Turner was signing with the Bucks, the follow-up tweet from Shams was basically that he made it clear he wanted to return to Indiana. So something got lost in translation here.
Yeah, I wonder then what the motivation is for Turner to leave Indiana, because he's been vocal about how year after year his name being there on the trade block in the rumor mill and trade deadline and all those things never being dealt, how that dealt and affected his mental health. Now he gets through where it felt like, okay, he's going to be a piece that the Pacers are going to build with to move forward. What is the green pasture that you could say about going to Milwaukee?
It's interesting, right? I mean, you get to play with Giannis, who's a phenomenal player, top 3 in MVP contention, it seems like every single season. But Myles Turner was the longest tenured Pacer, and he made it very clear he wanted to remain in Indiana. His reps have been trying to get a deal done since the Game 7 ending, and it is extremely interesting. Maybe Indiana had an issue with the possible tax, which grew after Tyrese Halliburton's injury, and maybe that was something that they were apprehensive about. But again, I just feel like you kind of... It's a double-edged sword. In Indiana's defense, maybe for them, the tax was not worth it if you don't have Tyrese Halliburton. And to put all of your stock, or put a lot of stock, I should say, in a player that is phenomenal, but will he make the sole difference if Tyrese Halliburton is not on the floor? Because it is expected, unless he has like a freak rehabilitation, he will miss the entire NBA season just due to the timing of when he sustained the injury. So the Pacers are now between a rock and a hard place of having to determine whether or not it is worth keeping Myles Turner without Tyrese Halliburton on the floor. But I've also been on the side of, you want your star player to return to a team that looks very familiar to the team he left. This throws a complete wrench in what the Pacers were doing in the Eastern Conference. Again, still a very deep team. Maybe they weren't going to be a contender next season, but absolutely with how open the Eastern Conference is, still a playoff team. But you take those talents to Milwaukee, you give Giannis the help he desperately needs. Now Damian Lillard's no longer in the picture. You still have Kyle Kuzma, but they brought all those guys back. Things are looking a lot brighter in Milwaukee, and if you're Giannis, you have to be a lot more pleased than you were 24 hours ago.
Yeah, just the span of how things can change that quickly. Now you look at that Bucks roster and you figure, okay, well, now they have their center, Myles Turner, after Brook Lopez leaves, and you need to figure out, okay, what you're going to do at the guard spot. They've made some moves already in the early part of free agency that made it seem like, okay, what will they do? Bobby Portis sticking around, Kevin Porter as well, Gary Trent coming back to Milwaukee, and now you look at this team, Ashley.
Yeah.
Do you like them to do what in the East? What kind of grade right now as we sit here Tuesday morning? Or is it Wednesday? I don't even know. It's Tuesday. How do you feel? That's what free agency does to you.
Prior to this happening, I gave the Milwaukee Bucks a D because they brought guys back, but they didn't really move the needle in any which direction. They just very much stayed the same, which was not good because the same wasn't good. Now, for me, they've jumped to a B. Myles Turner is a franchise caliber center, and you pair him with Giannis. This is going to be fun to watch. Now, obviously, I'm really sad about Dame. We were sitting here when the news broke, and we were definitely taken aback. We knew that obviously the rehabilitation process for Dame was going to be a lengthy one. He's of a particular age, and that does sometimes play a factor in how long it takes you to rehab, but we never really got to see this duo work completely for an entire season. It was one guy or the other not being on the floor, and we got such a small sample size. And maybe, you know, for the Milwaukee Bucks, getting a franchise caliber center was a lot more important than trying to work things out with Damian Lillard or waiting for him to get back on the court. This is going to be extremely interesting. I will say, though, for me, this is a middle-of-the-road playoff team. This is not a team that's going to win anything. This is not a team that's going to even be a top dog in the Eastern Conference. Yes, the East is wide open, but there are still teams that are in much better positions to win the whole thing, or at least come out of the East, and that's the Knicks, the Cavs, your Orlando Magic look tough. I think we have to watch out for the Atlanta Hawks. I don't think that they're going to be a championship caliber team, but just talking about teams that I put ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks when you talk about the playoff standings, there's a few before I get to Milwaukee.
So Dame Lillard is 34. He'll turn 35 in 2 weeks. Now he hits the market with a torn Achilles, likely will not play at all next year. What's the market going to look like for him? Who would pick him up, and why would you pick him up? Because he's not even going to play. It's in your locker room.
It's going to be extremely difficult for him to find a home this upcoming season, right? I could say maybe a team like the Dallas Mavericks, but that doesn't even make sense, right? They do need a veteran point guard because Kyrie Irving's actually out with an injury. So this is going to be tricky for Dame and his team because you're going to basically be putting stock in a memory of a version of Damian Lillard, the Damian Lillard before the injury, and that's going to be extremely difficult to sell to a team that's trying to win now, or it is in a position to at least be a high playoff team or a playoff team in general. It's going to be extremely tricky for Dame and his team, to your point, because he is going to miss most of the regular season next season.
Yeah, and then you look at the money, the way that plays out, he likely will not get anywhere near that type of contract wherever he signs moving forward. Like, of course, this is a business, but the emotional aspect of it is just wild when you think of, hey, he's rehabbing, trying to get back right, and now gets waived. There's no way this is the end for his career, though, right? He's going to find somewhere. I don't know. Damian Lillard is too talented of a point guard. He's too talented of a player in general for this to be the end. But it definitely leaves a bitter taste in your mouth if you're Dame, right? Because we remember the whole saga. Obviously wanted out of the Portland Trail Blazers after giving his entire career to that organization. His team makes it very clear he has a destination in mind. That destination is Miami. And the Portland Trail Blazers, in a just complete difference of how the league has always been handled, go against their superstar and trade him to the Milwaukee Bucks, which is a huge acclamation for him
And it doesn't go smoothly. He mentioned being homesick. He mentioned it just not being a smooth transition, that it's not where he wanted to go. Made the best of it. You're playing with Giannis. It hasn't really matured into something that a lot of people on paper thought it was going to be, for a multitude of different reasons. They go through several. They went through their coaching change with Adrian Griffin and Doc Rivers, and you bring in Kyle. There's just been a lot of moving pieces. And if you're Dame, for all intents and purposes, you were going to come back to Milwaukee, and you planned on being in that lineup and being part of that team once your rehab was complete. And for this to kind of come out of left field, you're kind of taken aback because this is not what you had in mind. And again, I understand the business aspect of it. Myles Turner is a franchise caliber center coming off of the NBA Finals. But if you're Dame, this stings a little bit.
Yeah.
And in the middle of your rehab.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it just, like, you feel for him, and I'll be intrigued to see if and when we do hear from Dame what he has to say. When you look back at the Bucks now, like, you lose a 1-2 punch
for sure
that you had with a guard and a forward like Giannis. It's not the same putting in Myles Turner. I feel like they still need some sort of guard to facilitate things, to really be in that upper echelon of the East, right?
They absolutely do, and the market's extremely thin, so that's where things are going to get tricky for the Milwaukee Bucks. And again, we have to not ignore the importance of chemistry and what that acclimation period looks like. It took Dame and Giannis a while, and I don't even think they reached 100% in their own chemistry and their own continuity. And now essentially you're starting that over again, this time with Myles Turner and Giannis and Kyle Kuzma and all the other pieces on the Milwaukee Bucks. But you're absolutely right. This team is not done. The question is who do you go after? Because there's not much on the market when we talk about the point guard position.
Yeah, perfect segue to us bring up and show the rest of the free agents that are out there right now. When, of course, Myles Turner gone, Al Horford not needed if you're the Bucks. So you're looking at these guards and Josh Giddey, maybe. Malik Beasley has his own issues that he's dealing with right now, so I'm sure he's not going to be touched by anyone. Cam Thomas, is that what you're doing? Your boy Quentin Grimes?
I want Quentin Grimes back on the Knicks, but I don't know. The market is extremely thin. It's not just about getting the right position. It's not about just getting the position. It's about getting the right fit for the Milwaukee Bucks and who can come in and be an immediate impact for Giannis and what the Bucks currently look like. And that's the trickiest part, because despite Damian Lillard's age and despite the fact that this injury is just completely changes sometimes the way that a point guard or a player in general plays, he's still one of the best to ever do it. And you are not going to easily replace his productivity and his skill. And that's where things get a little sticky for the Milwaukee Bucks. But Myles Turner, I mean, they've done this before. Remember with Drew Holiday, how Drew Holiday came out of left field and it basically saved Giannis from going elsewhere. And they once again have come in the 11th hour and said, Giannis, whatever I need to do to keep you happy, baby, I'm going to keep you. I need a man like that. That's what I need. Whatever I need to do to keep you happy, I'm going to keep you happy. And that's exactly what the Bucks do for Giannis.
It's not that kind of segment we're doing.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Those are relationship goals, if you ask me.
You can wish for that, and I hope that for you, you know, because I'm a nice,
You're not like that
guy.
with your wife?
No, I am. That's what I say. I hope it for you.
Okay,
I hope you get to experience it.
I need a Milwaukee Buck in my life.
I need you to get that too. You hear what she's saying right there. Take another look at this free agent list. For you, who is the best player available? Kuminga, Giddey, or do you like someone else when you talk about just forget fit for whatever team needs someone? Who's the best?
I like a few guys on this list. I think Al Horford is a name that I like a lot for a multitude of different reasons. I think that he's effective. I think that he has a high basketball IQ. He has the experience. Kuminga, I'm 50-50 on. I think also we've never really seen the full Kuminga experience, especially when you talk about that disaster in Golden State. I like Cam Thomas a lot. Gary Payton's a nice acquisition. You can get him for your bench. There are a few guys on here. It's all about the fit. But DeAndre Ayton is going to be that name that I'm watching very, very closely, because now things have gotten a lot more interesting when it comes to his market and who would be going after him. If you are the Los Angeles Lakers, you are waiting until 12:01 and it is officially Wednesday and he clears waivers, and you are grabbing him as quick as possible. If you don't, we're having a different conversation about the Lakers.
Yeah, there's never a downtime in the NBA offseason. That's what makes things so much fun because, man, 24 hours here into free agency and things are this crazy already. Buckle up, y'all, for the summer. It's going to be very fun. Thank you, Ashley Nicole Moss, and kicking it as always as we show you just one last little reminder of what the numbers look like for Myles Turner playing for the Pacers. 6th all-time in games, 10 seasons there, went through a lot, just made it to the finals, but now instead of kicking it in Indy, he's headed over to Milwaukee, teaming up with Giannis Antetokounmpo and a Bucks team that no longer will have Damian Lillard on that roster as they stretch and waive his contract. Keep it locked here on HQ because, of course, we will have you covered every step of the way with all things NBA free agency and all the other sports. Brad Botkin will be joining the show in a little bit. We have you on HQ.
Breaking news out of the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks have made a deal and signing Pacers free agent. This is a shocker. And Myles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal per ESPN. Turner has spent his 10 years, of course, the longest tenure Pacer after this one, but just lost in the NBA Finals to OKC Thunder in Game 7. We saw that. But the Pacers will be without their point guard and Tyrese Halliburton next season because of that torn Achilles we saw in Game 6. That injury possibly left the club less prone to re-signing Turner. So you're wondering where the Bucks got all this money and how they made this deal? Well, here it is. Staying in Milwaukee, the Bucks are waiving Damian Lillard to clear out the space to sign the top free agent in Turner. That's according to multiple reports. The Bucks will stretch out that $113 million left on Lillard's deal over the next 5 seasons to clear some space for Turner, the former Pacers big man who is getting a 4-year deal, as I mentioned. Lillard, of course, torn that Achilles in the first round of the playoffs against Indiana. So many questions and hopefully some answers here. Brad Botkin in studio with me, and then Coach Avery Johnson as well. And let's start here with the shocker when it comes to Myles Turner. I'll start with you, Brad. Nobody saw this coming. We all thought he was going back to Indiana based on what they did. Your reaction to this?
Well, I gave a seed of this possibility yesterday on HQ. I got called crazy. The Halliburton injury changed the equation. There's no question about it. Now, you could say it's short-sighted, but the Pacers did not want to go into attacks. Basically, they're saying we don't have a chance next year. And after that, maybe Turner's getting up there in age. It's funny because Turner's been central casting in damn near every trade rumor in the league for the past half-decade. Now he walks for nothing from Indiana. They don't do a sign-and-trade. They don't get anything back for him. On the Bucks side, this is, it's interesting. They have done a series of increasingly desperate moves to placate Giannis. So first they made the Drew Holiday trade, which was a sound trade, but they gave up a ton for him, got a lot in return, won a championship. Got a little bit more desperate with the trade for Dame himself to keep Giannis happy. And now it's like Dame's hurt, he's out, our team's going in the tank. We're going to do the most desperate thing ever, and we're going to waive Damian Lillard to bring in Myles Turner. Let's be honest about this. Myles Turner was the #1 player on my free agent list, but that speaks more to the thin class that this is. Then Myles Turner's a good player, don't get me wrong. Just helped the Pacers get to within 1 game of a championship, stretch shooter, rim protector, all these things. But he's basically a little bit better Brook Lopez. So it's not like the Bucks went out and got Jokic, But what they did do is sign up to pay Damian Lillard $22.5 million for each of the next 5 years. In this second apron era where every team is pinching every penny, you're now paying a guy $22.5 million every year for 5 years that's not even on your team. So how are you going to build? This could be crippling in the next 3 to 4 years for the Bucks, but they're putting all their energy toward keeping Giannis happy. There's now some rumblings out there that maybe Giannis isn't even happy that Lillard was the one that was the casualty of bringing Turner in. But look, there's a lot going on here, but the bottom line is Milwaukee is clearly super, super desperate to keep Giannis happy, and they did not have many levers to pull. So they pulled a very, very desperate one.
Houston, we do not have a problem. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I could see him in a Houston Rockets uniform like tomorrow because this move is not going to make Giannis happy in any way. And Brad was right on yesterday. He said this was a possibility that Myles Turner couldn't move on, and and again, when you're an unrestricted free agent, anything is possible. I thought, Indiana was going to do everything in their power to retain Myles Turner. I was wrong, but Myles Turner at this stage of his career, partnering and playing alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo to try to win the Eastern Conference, I don't think this is anything that's going to make Giannis happy. And then you're going to pay a guy $22 million not to play. This is, I don't even have a word for it. Maybe Brad can help me with a word, because
Coach, it's desperate, and I'll tell you who Damian Lillard needs to get in touch with. Bobby Bonilla, who was getting paid by the Mets.
This is a mini Bobby Bonilla.
For a quarter century.
Oh, Bobby Bonilla
playing baseball. Bobby Bonilla. So for the next 5 years, it's going to be Happy Dame Lillard Day in Milwaukee, and they are going to have, if they were strapped financially to go support Giannis before this, they got no chance now.
Yeah.
They got no chance, and Coach is right. Myles Turner does not move the needle like this. Look, this guy, and we can't have so much recency bias that we think this is like a huge deal because they just went to the finals. He was in the spotlight. He played well. I mean, look, this is still Myles Turner. This is a guy, listen, Indiana would have traded him at certain points for the right package over the last 5 years. No one was willing to give that package. So let's talk about honest value around the league. Look at, when they got Drew Holiday, perfect pickup, won a championship. Dame, there were some questions defensively when they lost Holiday. They were flipping to an offensive team, but it's still Damian Lillard. This is Myles Turner. And what does this say about the state of the Eastern Conference, that these teams think that they can add a non-all-star player and tell themselves, we can win it? We got to do something about the conferences, man. They're so bad that the Magic think they can add Desmond Bane, and the Bucks think they can add Myles Turner. These guys aren't even all-stars. Like, hey, we're good. We're going to the title. I mean, that's how bad the Eastern Conference is right now.
Coach, go ahead.
But another thought with all of this, if they can ever find a coach, if you're the New York Knicks right now, you're sitting pretty good if you can find the right coach, because Boston is not the same team. Right? Jason Tatum is out basically for the season.
Pacers are done.
You look at Halliburton, and now, Dame obviously was out, and Giannis is probably going to move on. So if you're looking at it, if Philadelphia can ever get healthy, if they can ever get healthy, those two teams right now, the prognosis of them really taking a step forward, they're sitting pretty good.
And Coach, what's important is Cleveland, they're seeing this opportunity. They're blowing right past the second apron. Like, we got a chance here. They went and got Lonzo Ball. They're not getting rid of anybody. They're paying the tax. They're into the second apron because they know, to Coach's point, if they're going to win, it's right now. The East is completely wide open.
So what I'm hearing from both of you guys, because upstairs when this happened, the whole deal of Myles Turner, 4 years, $107 million. We have a few Bucks fans up there, happy, elated. But it seems like between the two of you, this is a train wreck in terms of signing Myles Turner. I understand the logic behind it, but it just seems like this is a first-way ticket to get Giannis out of Milwaukee. Coaches, you already said Houston.
Yes, I'm thinking Houston. And you know what?
Oh, my God.
When CBS Sports HQ called me to come on and just, I was thinking we were going to talk about Shea's extension, not Myles Turner and Damian Lillard.
You know what, Coach, think about this. Let's say that your hypothesis comes to fruition here and Giannis bails. Let's send him to the Warriors just for my sake. But let's say he bails on Milwaukee, okay? Imagine being the Bucks where you just signed up for Myles Turner for 4 years and $100 million. You're paying Damian Lillard $100 million. He doesn't even play for you. And now you don't even have Giannis. Imagine, I mean, if that happens, Burn the Bucks down. If that happens, burn the Bucks down.
You know what? We should just change the lower Bucks burning down. Obviously, Myles Turner is not the focal point of this segment. Brad Botkin, Avery Johnson. Look, keep that same passion because we have a 12 o'clock show. Appreciate your time when it comes to Myles Turner signing, and neither guy likes it. Giannis is leaving and going to Houston. He's on the way. But take a look at the top remaining free agents out there. Of course, Myles putting pen to paper. We'll see how the fans in Cream City like it. But other big names we'll see on the move. Jonathan Kuminga, possibly restricted free agent. DeAndre Ayton, maybe the biggest name when it comes to bigs out there now with Turner off the board. But so many names looking for new places. The conversation continues after a commercial break at noon Eastern right here in HQ. More of Myles Turner getting pen to paper, but maybe Giannis not too happy.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ on a very, very busy Tuesday. Not so much for me, but especially for these guys here who've been running over. We have like 5 studios here, and they've been back and forth in between all of them. Brad Botkin, Ashley Nicole Moss. Brad, how you feeling?
Well,
because your beard is starting to get like a little intense.
I just had a candy bar, so I'm better now.
Technically, it was a kind bar.
Oh, you were watching? Mm-hmm. Well, I was about to pass out, so we avoided that.
That's right. Ashley got some mac and cheese, so we've got them fueled. We're going to keep the conversation going about NBA free agency and everybody wondering what on earth are the Bucks doing. As Brad has said several times today, they are absolutely desperate to keep Giannis, but decide to make a very weird decision in waiving, Dame Lillard and getting Myles Turner here, which Brad, from what I have gathered, listening to you over the course of the day, was not the move in order to make Giannis. So point blank, should Giannis demand a trade?
Well, I can't get into somebody's head and get into the factors that they're prioritizing. So any of us, if we were switching jobs, and we would think about where we wanted to live and where we wanted to work. And if Giannis wants to stay with the same franchise for his entire career, and he values living in Milwaukee and he has relationships there, then I can't speak to that. But if it's purely through a basketball prism, get on out. I mean, there's just no chance. This Myles Turner thing made a bad situation worse. They are going to be extremely crippled moving forward, paying Damian Lillard $22.5 million for the next 5 years for a guy who's not even on your team. We're doing all these segments about all these teams having to pinch every single penny they can to get below luxury tax lines and salary cap lines, and they're going to be paying $22.5 million to a player who's not even playing there. And then Myles Turner's getting $25 million a year on top of that. They got no more plays. If Giannis, and this is an if, I can't speak to this, but if winning a championship or competing realistically for a championship is his top priority, Milwaukee is not the place to do it.
All right, Ashley, so in Brad's mind, Giannis has 2 ideas. It is, do I play with one franchise for my entire career, or do I go win? Do you think he should demand a trade?
I agree with Brad completely. I do think that he should demand a trade. I do think that the situation in Milwaukee, getting Myles Turner and keeping a bunch of the guys who were there last season, I do think that this may have prolonged the inevitable. And Brad and I disagree on that, but I genuinely think that Giannis will go into this season as a Milwaukee Buck. Now, what happens throughout the course of the season, I think, is where things get interesting. I think that it could be trade deadline. Maybe it's the end of this upcoming season. Maybe he sees his entire contract through. But I am, without a shadow of a doubt, I believe, unless something miraculous happens and LeBron James brings his talents to Milwaukee, I have a very hard time believing somebody in the prime of their career, somebody who is constantly in MVP conversation, somebody who can bring a championship to another city with the pieces necessary to do so, would continue to waste their time in a dead-end situation. And I will give the Bucks this credit. They have tried everything they can to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound when it comes to keeping Giannis satisfied after winning the championship. They have tried every single thing that they can do, from roster changes to front office changes to coaching changes. So this is not an organization that isn't trying. They are very much going to couples therapy and saying, honey, don't leave me. I'll be better. I promise. Just please don't leave. And he keeps saying it. It's just enough to keep him there. But I think eventually the writing is on the wall, and I don't see how a competitor of his caliber can look at this team and say, yeah, I can win here.
He's
it's
in
just
couples
not
therapy
there.
on Tinder right now. He's
He's already out.
You can't use your phone in couples therapy.
He's already out.
going to be swiping left and right. First
That's
of all,
right.
wait, which is the right way? What is yes?
It's this way.
Swiping right's good.
Yeah,
Swiping right's
swiping
good.
right means you matched, and then swiping left means
A lot of teams
don't
be
match.
swiping right on Giannis.
Yeah. Think about it this way.
it's
Swipe,
the
swipe,
right-
swipe.
left.
Yeah.
That's left.
Oh, so then left. Swipe left?
No.
Okay.
I think
Swipe
left,
right.
you're getting rid of him.
As you can see, none of us are on dating apps.
think.
Look at us. Okay, so let's swipe on some teams. Ashley, you get to be the swiper, which I think is also a kid's show. Something swipe, swipe, swipe.
Dora the
Brad,
Explorer?
I don't know if you've remembered this because our producer asked you to put together 3 trade deals.
Yep.
We're going to start with the Warriors.
Yep.
I've not seen this. I don't know how the trade goes down, so let's take a
I'm
look
going
at
to
it.
propose these trades to Ashley.
She's gonna
and
swipe
I'm gonna see
right or left.
Exactly. Now, understand that there are some mechanics here. This would be the core of the trade. You know, Jonathan Kuminga, for instance, hasn't exactly signed with the Warriors yet, so we don't know what his value would be worth. There's a lot of CBA mechanisms that would come into play. But if this were the core of a trade, and the Bucks came to the Warriors right now and they said, we're giving Giannis Antetokounmpo for Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, and 3 first-round picks.
Not too shabby.
Who says no?
Draymond Green. He's the wild card. Here's the thing. I think this is a great trade, and
For who?
For the Warriors.
Okay, so the Warriors say yes to this trade.
I think the Bucks would even say yes to a trade like this. Draymond Green for me is
on both sides.
I think Draymond Green is the wild card here. I believe
He doesn't get a say.
Hold on a second. I believe Draymond at this stage in his career, remember, he keeps talking about the end is near. The end is near. Draymond would retire before he went to Milwaukee.
Oh,
and
he's got some money due to him.
And then that changes the entire
Guys,
landscape
dudes don't
of
give
this.
up money. So let's throw that part
Take
out.
that out?
So let's say yeah.
Oh,
so you,
then
you think both sides say yes
both
to this?
parties say yes
So
to this.
if you're the Warriors, you're willing to give up a franchise stalwart in Draymond Green, perhaps a future
sure.
building block in Kuminga
For
and
Giannis?
okay, so I agree with you.
Because then you're in win now mode.
I agree
For
with you,
sure.
but you're basically saying because Green's out the door, you're depleting a lot of your depth and your future flexibility. So you're saying in 2 years with Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and Giannis.
You're talking about Giannis, who's an offensive power, is a defensive
Yeah, with
power.
Steph and
Pairing
Jimmy.
him with Steph and Jimmy,
Yeah.
Draymond, it's been real. We appreciate you. We'll put your jersey in the rafters, homeboy.
So it's
But
a yes on both sides.
Yes on both sides.
Okay.
Okay,
Next one.
so
Next
we get
one.
a match.
Next
It's like when
one.
it lights up, you
Absolutely.
have a match.
Yeah, that's like the
you may
premium
now talk
account.
to one another.
Premium account.
The next dating profile we have here is the Rockets. What does this look like, Brad?
Okay, so the Rockets have already been very busy with Kevin Durant. If they were to get Giannis, I think Adam Silver might have to step in. But, okay, so the Rockets receive Giannis. The Bucks receive Şengün, Van Vliet. That makes the salary go. But here's the key here. Amen Thompson and 3 first-round picks. It's a massive package. Who says no?
Well, who's proposing this trade in this scenario? Are the Rockets proposing or the Bucks?
The Bucks go to the Rockets and they say, here's what we want for Giannis.
I think the Rockets say no.
The Rockets say no. Why? What holds you up about that?
And so many people are already, you guys have just been praising the Rockets throughout the day
great.
today.
I think the Rockets say no because although Giannis is, everybody
Giannis.
knows, yes, Giannis is Giannis. Here's the thing. You have to remember they were able to get Kevin Durant in a very low-risk situation. And the thing
This would be mortgaging a lot.
This would be mortgaging a lot. And the thing that we were all apprehensive about when it came to the Kevin Durant situation was how much of your future would you have to give up to get Kevin Durant. And the fact that they were able to walk away with only giving up 2 players, a draft pick, and then 5 second-round draft picks, I believe, is a steal for Kevin Durant. Now you're talking about digging even deeper into your future to get a player like Giannis, who, yes, is younger than Kevin Durant, and he'll be part of the team longer, but you also then run into the situation of, well, who's he going to play with? What makes the Houston Rockets so lethal is not just now a Kevin Durant, it's everybody around them, and you lose a chunk of that.
Losing Thompson.
Losing
Can
Thompson's
we put that
deal.
graphic back up? Because I'd be curious if we went back to the negotiating table and we said, okay, that's too much, but if we took Thompson out.
Take Thompson out and
give another salary filler.
I would say take Thompson out and give me one of those picks back.
Okay, so you would do it for Şengün, Van Vliet, 2 picks, no
For sure.
Thompson.
Yes.
So there's something to
You would say
negotiate.
yes if you're the Rockets.
If I am the Rockets.
So Thompson's your hang-up.
Yeah, if the Rockets come to me and say, I will give you Şengün, Fred VanVleet, Or if I'm the Bucks and I present that, yeah, you can't have both Sengun
I
and
agree
Thompson.
with you. I think Thompson is the one that tips it over. I say no if you get Thompson out of the deal, maybe lessen it down by 2 picks, make the money work still somehow.
Yeah.
I think you have to consider it. It's Giannis. But I do agree with Ashley. You don't want to deplete too much depth and defeat the purpose of what you did to get Kevin Durant.
Yeah. Either way, not necessarily a match right now. There's going to be some negotiating.
What is it on Tender where like it could be a match? Like,
I don't think that exists.
There's no middle ground. It's just right or left.
It's yes or no.
All right, so this is a left.
You should suggest that.
We should create an app,
a maybe column. Yeah,
that's what we need.
Maybe. I think that's just called dating in general. All right, our producer's moving us along. Let's go with the Spurs. This is your final team to create some trades.
Okay, the Spurs. Now this is one of the original teams that were in the when the Giannis sweepstakes seemed to be firing up. So the Spurs get Giannis. They go to the Bucks and they say, we will give you Castle, okay? Rookie of the Year, Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, make the money work. And here's the key. This year's #2 overall pick, Dylan Harper.
Spurs say no.
Spurs say no. Why? What's the biggest hang-up?
Everything the Spurs were excited about right now.
Harper's the hang-up?
Harper, and I think I would probably be willing to say Castle. Or who else was included in that?
You're not worried about Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes.
Yeah. So it's probably Castle and
let's throw that back up just for a quick second.
Because I initially liked Giannis to the Spurs, but this was before they got Dylan Harper.
Ashley, we're talking about Giannis here.
For sure.
It's not a Myles Turner deal. Dylan Harper's he's good, but it's Giannis. If there's no additional picks, just this year's #2.
This is a lot of depth, though.
No, I'm doing this in a heartbeat if I'm the Spurs. Now, if the Bucks come back and say we also want 2 future first-round picks, plus this year's #2 and Dylan Harper, plus Castle, I might say no. But no future picks, it's Giannis.
I would actually swap this. If we can show that graphic one more time, I would say you can have every player you listed plus picks, but you can't have Harper.
Okay, so maybe you go back and say you can have 2, hell, 3 future picks with no Harper.
I would give you 3 future picks, all those players mentioned except for Dylan Harper, and we have a deal.
So you love Harper?
I think Dylan Harper has a lot of upside, and you don't trade a player like that, especially when
he say yes to that.
I think they do.
Oh, I don't see why not.
I think if they get 3 picks, so I think the Bucks would say yes to either one of those.
Yeah, so take Dylan Harper out of the equation, replace him with 1 or 2 or even 3
But as we put it up, it's a no.
As we put it up, it's a no. But if you wanted to renegotiate that, there's definitely definitely potential in that deal.
Okay, so we have one match with the Warriors, and we have Brad's new maybe dating app that he's going to put the Spurs and the Rockets into. Coming up, what about the Lakers, the one team in the West we're really not talking a lot about because they need a center? Ashley's going to give us some options next. Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ. We're going to keep the NBA talk rolling here. Ashley, Nicole, Myles, Brad Botkin, Amanda Guerra here. Want to let you know, as a lot of things are going down, a lot of people talking about the Bucks right now because we got a lot of questions about that. Jakob Poeltl agreeing to a 4-year, $104 million deal with the Raptors. You said during the commercial break they love him. We're going to go from big man to big man here because we got to fix the Lakers at this point. Noah, our producer, there's the tweet. Sam Quinn, who works for us. I peddled a lot of Giannis rumors in my day, but Milwaukee might have inadvertently triggered the funniest sequence of events possible. Pacers sign Ayton. And here's really the part we got to get to. Lakers have no centers to sign. LeBron James requests a trade from LA. Don't know if he's going to do that, but we got to find the Lakers a center. The Rockets have like 3 right now. The Lakers still don't have any. Ashley, Nicole Moss, you've come up with how many options? We have 3 options?
No one wanted 5, but 5 was a stretch. 3 was a stretch, but I got 3.
Okay.
I got 3.
As you're working throughout the day, talking about all the trades going down, you're still having to come up with this.
Noah wanted 3. I gave him 3.
Let's start with 1, and let's see what Brad thinks.
I think Brad's going to like this one. Number 1 is Al Horford.
Oh, yeah.
I'll let Brad, you want to explain why you like him?
Well, still a very good player. The basketball IQ with Luka and LeBron and now Horford would be off the charts. He stretches the floor still as a shooter, and he can still defend at a super high level. There's a big, big difference between getting DeAndre Ayton and Al Horford.
For sure. And number 2 is DeAndre Ayton. Now, bear with me when I explain why. It's not because I think he's, the second coming of Hakeem or Kareem or any of the Eames. He's the best available. And that's to Al Horford. And I think that now things are going to get interesting because because the Pacers and the Lakers, I feel like, are going to be going at it. They're going to be going at it for the same girl, and the girl in the situation is DeAndre Ayton.
I think if they had a dating app, and it was back to the dating app, it was only the people that didn't get swiped on, like best available.
That's
what the Aytons are.
That's what
the leftovers.
DeAndre Ayton is best available.
Two dating apps.
Yeah.
The maybes and the leftovers.
Oh man,
Here's
you
the
don't want to
thing.
be on the leftover app.
You cannot go
going to dinner tonight with Ayton.
You cannot go into the season with the Los Angeles Lakers and you have Luka and you have LeBron for the time being, and you cannot have Jackson Hayes being your starting center. Now, granted, DeAndre Ayton is in a drastic improvement from Jackson Hayes, that there is a slight elevation. Now, Al Horford is a much better improvement than both of those guys I just named. You got to find somebody. You got to land on someone. And if you don't, we're having a different conversation
Well, I'm
after
interested in the
Wednesday.
third guy.
Yeah, what was the third
So
option?
the third guy is a guy the Nets don't want to let go of, but
This would have
I
to be a
thought
trade.
that this would have to be a trade. I like Nick Claxton a lot.
Now we're talking.
This would be a piece. This would be a centerpiece. I don't mean centerpiece, but a center and a piece that would be able to be with Luka post the LeBron era. This is a type of center that you go after. He could also play the 4, so it's like a 4-5 that you go after because you're thinking about what this team is going to look like with Luka whenever LeBron does move on, whether that's he retires, he moves on from the Lakers. But to Brad's point, this is not a free agent. This is somebody you would have to package up something or some things to get. But I think Nick Claxton would be a good pick.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking. But I mean, if they end up, if it's down to the actual free agents, big swing on the grade of the Lakers offseason if it's Horford or Ayton.
Okay, so let me ask you this, though. These are options. The bottom line is the Lakers need to find a center.
Oh, yeah.
So
For sure.
what is realistic in this? What could you guys actually see them doing?
I think it's one of the first two.
It's either Horford or Ayton.
And it's a big difference. It's a big, there's a lot of guys. Herb Jones is not a center, but there's a lot of guys we could sit here and talk about, well, if the Lakers put a package together, they could go and trade for him. That's a lot of players fall under that cloud, and maybe they do it. But the guys that are right there that are going to sign with somebody, they're free agents right now, it's Ayton and Horford. Chris Boucher is a guy that I don't think Chris Boucher has signed from Toronto anywhere. He's a guy that I've heard is a backup plan for a lot of teams. I know Golden State is interested in Horford. Boucher he offers a lot of the same things. He's a shot blocker, rim protector, and he stretches the floor as a three-point shooter. Has actually quietly been almost as productive as some of the best centers in the league. So Boucher is a guy I think is a backup for a lot of teams that are going after Horford. DeAndre Ayton, it's strange to me that he has become the focal point of conversations. I think it's only because it's the Lakers. If I don't know, the Magic were in line. Like, the Magic might be getting Ayton. We would not be doing segments on it. It's DeAndre Ayton.
And I also
but
think
it's only because it's the Lakers.
And it's because they desperately need to fill that position.
They do, but Boucher and Horford are
No, but I'm saying that's why we're having this conversation ad nauseum, and it's this massive thing because to Brad's point, DeAndre Ayton is not.
And also there was reporting right when it came out that the Lakers were after him, so we have to talk on the reporting.
And this Myles Turner situation kind of threw everything in a wrench, and now you're going to have the Pacers and the Lakers going at it. They need a center. LeBron's apparently not happy. God only knows how Luka feels. There's a lot going on.
Boucher or
So let me
Horford.
ask you this: with hearing LeBron James isn't happy, he did opt into the final year of his contract, but there are still so many questions about his future with the Lakers. How badly are the Lakers, if we compare this to the Giannis situation? Granted, we have a 10-year difference in the age of the players. How desperate are the Lakers?
No, they're the opposite. They're not doing anything to appease him.
Okay.
I don't think they care,
that's been the frustration of Lakers fans for. Now they did go get Luka. That's because Nico Harrison threw him in their lap. I mean, they have not wanted to get rid of future draft picks. They have not wanted to go out and they let a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith walk. They are clearly not prioritizing this last year, and that's why people are talking about, does LeBron James request a trade, because the team is clearly planning for post-LeBron.
Well, I will say, I don't want to go as far as saying they don't care, because while you still have LeBron, you're still trying to win. I don't think it's smart, and if the Lakers are approaching it this way, that's not smart, because you still have Luka, you still have LeBron. You should try to put the best team together as possible, as difficult as it may be. But the situation with Giannis and LeBron is different because the fact that Giannis still has 2 years left on his deal.
And he's 10 years younger.
And he's 10 years younger. LeBron had the option to extend with the Lakers, chose not to. And then you add on top of that the statement from Rich Paul. I think the Lakers also know the writing may be on the wall. But let's be honest, LeBron leaving the Lakers helps the Lakers. Like, he sucks up a
exactly.
lot of money.
They're going to have max space
You're
without
going to be
him.
able to build this team around Luka and kind of start from scratch.
It's all about the bar that you're willing to cross to outfit your team to win right now. When you have Giannis on your team and hope to have him for the next decade, you will cross a very high bar to keep him there. The Lakers are like jumping over a phone book to keep, because he's leaving anyway. They're not gonna go and blow anything up or
put him in
send flexibility.
the leftovers app.
The Lakers are in couple counseling, but they're like on Tinder at the same time. Whereas the Bucks and Giannis, they're focused. They're like, whatever you want, I'm gonna give it to you. What do you need?
No,
What did Noah say in the notebook?
But
What
they
do
don't
you
know
want?
Giannis created a profile 2 months ago. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Giannis has a sneaky dating profile.
He has
a burner account.
account.
yeah.
Was it
and
Ashley Madison?
The
He has one of those
Lakers are there. I don't know. Guys, you have done an absolutely phenomenal job today. I think you've been talking for about 5 hours straight. Ashley Nicole Moss with her show Triple Threat. You could watch it by scanning the QR code. Obviously, there is so much to talk about, but Brad, also, thank you to you too.
All
You
right,
have
thank
been
you.
phenomenal.